everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Beyond the Gatekeepers. I am Bishop Vanessa M. Brown. I'm your host and moderator for this evening. Very, very happy to have you here with me. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, we say welcome, 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 welcome. We are so glad to be in conversation with you on tonight. And I'm going to ask y'all to do me a big favor and just share. Let's share this conversation so that folks will know that we are on. I promise you that this is a powerful conversation with a wonderful, wonderful author and writer that's going to present herself tonight. But before we do that, you know that we like to shout out where you're from. So let's gather the people in the room. And then I want to also bring Bishop Flunder as well. She is going to help facilitate this conversation as she does every week. She is the presiding prelate of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, senior pastor of City of Refuge United Church of Christ. And we are very, very happy to have her here with us on tonight. Bishop Flunder.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is my great joy to be in conversation this evening around a subject that has always been very close to my heart. Being able to talk about, lift up, being able to humanize in many cases and give kudos to the church ladies, the church mothers, the women who are part of what was the pillars that held together so many faith-based organizations, and certainly those of us who are of African American lineage. But I would say the Methodist Baptist and everybody else. It's such an important conversation to have, and to discuss it in terms of what should those roles be now. What are we looking for now and for the future? So I'm very, very much wanting to be a part of this conversation. I hope you are too. I hope you are too. No more closets for church ladies either. All right. All right. God bless.
Yes, I love it. No more closets for church ladies. That is so good. Listen to everyone. Tell me where you're from. Let us shout out where you're from so that we can keep track. That's what we want to do on tonight. We want to know who's watching. Tell us where you are watching from. And let us know that you are watching. So Albert Reed is here from Kyling, Texas. Welcome. Sean Jenkins is here from a Metro Atlanta area. Yes, and we are glad to have you back. We're going to continue to lift you in prayer, Sean. Thank you so much. Pastor Erica is on. York, PA is in the house. Pastor Siegfried Benton is here from Temple Hills, Maryland. Welcome, Pastor. Maria Harris is on with us from Denver, Colorado, on YouTube as well. Of course, we have people that are on from Instagram as well as all the other social media platforms. X, we're everywhere. Chuck Hunt, thank you so much for joining us. Monroe, Louisiana. Good evening, Minister David, tri-state area. New York City is in the house. Reverend Tanya Jackson here, Newark, Delaware. Jason Woody, Miami, Florida, is on YouTube. Welcome, Jason. Darlene Connell is here from Queens, New York. Welcome, Darlene. Thank you for being with us. Shakira Joy Bobbitt is here from VA, representing Virginia. Welcome. Pastor Wayne Taft, and we want to say congratulations on the opening of your church in Birmingham, Alabama. We welcome you tonight. Thank you so much. Libby Carter Otuya, thank you, from New York City. Thank you for being with us. Elliot Morris, thank you for being here. Chicago is in the house. Anthony Burgess, welcome. Richmond, VA, on YouTube. Bishop Levi Richards is here. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. From on Beyond the Gatekeepers. So good that you're here. Mel Sharp and Nappy Nobility on IG. Thank you for being with us on tonight. Bishop-elect Dorothy Parrish Harris is with us. And thank you so much for being with us. From Maryland, Columbia, Maryland, Jacob Lusk is here with us. Jacob, tell us where you're from when you get a chance. Yes, I see you. Los Angeles, California. Thank you. Pam Jones is here. Chicago, welcome. Pastor Paul Bailey is in the house. London, England is on. Thank you so much. Bishop James Mills is here. Philly Burbs is here. Thank you so much. Courtney Brown, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Thank you for being with us tonight. very, very much. Y'all are in the room tonight. We're so very, very happy. We're excited about this conversation with this wonderful woman here tonight. We want to discuss a book. We know there's some headlines since the last time we met, and we'll at some point we are going to make sure that we discuss and have that conversation, right, Bishop Flunder? We're gonna have that conversation about 30, I think 34 counts of felony counts. We're gonna talk about that real soon. Maria Cadell Harris, welcome, Denver, Colorado. And we're just welcoming all that are coming. Thank you all for sharing, letting people know that this conversation is happening on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, and our LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, we're here on LinkedIn, on X. So join us tonight for this conversation. Dolly Howell Pankey, thank you. Birmingham, Alabama is here. Shout out to all her Louisiana people. Lovely. I love that. And also, we want to say happy Pride to everybody. Happy Pride to those that celebrate Pride, to those that celebrate with us, to those that celebrate all months, then everybody that's celebrating for the rest of their life. Happy Pride to you. Colette Walker, hello. I love you. St. Louis, Sexy Red Territory. Yes, that's right. Welcome. Glad you're here tonight, Colette. Colette is faithful to us. God bless you. Ronnie, thank you for being here from Florida. Ronnie is here from Florida. And so y'all talk amongst yourselves in the chat room as well. Y'all make sure y'all shout out and tell each other happy Pride and all of this stuff like that, whatever you want to say. All right. But I want to bring our guest on. And this is a very busy woman. Within the last 6 to 9 weeks, been traveling everywhere, all over the country, and so we're grateful that we were able to get her tonight. Deesha Philyaw is here with us, award-winning writer, right? Award-winning writer, author, television show, books, movies, all of it is right before us tonight. And she has written a wonderful book called The Secret Lives of Church Ladies. The Secret Lives of Church Ladies. Right before she says anything, I want y'all to first of all know how to purchase the book, right? Know how to purchase the book. It's already going to go inside the chat, but we also want to let you know that Deesha has agreed to give away a book tonight. And so there's going to be a free book giveaway. All you have to do is type the hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers, all one word, and you will be at the end of the show in line to possibly win a copy of the book, Secret Lives of Church Ladies. Now, some folks, might be uncomfortable with this conversation. When I told her congratulations on a great book, she was like, I can't believe, that you said it, because so many people have been not very happy, but I'm grateful for someone that really knows how to speak truth to power and say what needs to be said. Please welcome Deesha Philyaw. Deesha, please greet our guest online.
Hello, everybody, and Bishop Brown, Bishop Flunder, thank you so much for having me, and thanks to everybody that I see in the chat, some familiar faces, some not familiar faces. I'm really excited to be here for our conversation tonight, so thank you.
Quite awesome. Thank you. I'm going to shout out Reverend Naomi Washington Leapart. She is here with us. Welcome, Naomi. Philadelphia is in the house. Lawan Washington, thank you, from Las Vegas on YouTube. Thank you for joining us tonight. A few more people. James Stewart from Chicago. Thank you we love you too. Thank you for being here with us. Cheryl Robinson from O'Fallon, Missouri. Thank you for being with us on tonight. Anthony Burgess, thank you for being with us tonight. Bishop Sonia Williams has joined us tonight. Thank you so much for being with us, family. We appreciate that. Atlanta, Georgia, Rim is in the house. Thank you so much. And automatically, before we get started, Bishop A. Bernard Womack, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Before we get started, see, we get ready to get something started. Somebody is already donating a copy to give away, because this book is going to set the captive free. So we got 2 books we giving away. I know that once we start with this conversation, folks are going to start getting on the bandwagon. I need Pastor Sue, make sure you're looking at the chat that we can keep up with the number of people that's going to be giving away a copy of this book tonight. They're going to purchase it. We want to support this sister. And let me tell you right off the rip, This is already going to be a television show. She's already in the works, writing, working with HBO, Cinemax, and other people to make it happen. That's how big this is going to be. Deesha, tell me about this book and actually why you wrote it in the first place.
So when I first started writing the stories in Church Ladies, I didn't know I was writing a book. I was supposed to be writing a novel, which is what I'm working on now, which I started on 2007, and I was stuck on the novel. And every now and then I'd venture off and write some stories. And then I had an agent, because I wrote a book on co-parenting with my ex-husband, and then an agent who had been waiting on the novel. And so she read some of the stories I was working on, and she said, you know, since you're stuck on this novel, she said, I like these church lady stories. So she called them that. I didn't really see the connection between these first couple of stories. She said, but what if you took a break from the novel and got intentional about these stories you're writing about Black women, sex, and the Black church? So she sort of saw that through line. For me, they were just, at the time, maybe 2 stories that I didn't really see the connection between them. But when she encouraged me to do that, it felt more possible than writing a novel. Not that it's necessarily easier, but I was really stuck with the novel. But a series of stories, I thought, you know, I think I can do that. And she specifically said, you know, get 3 stories published and we'll go to on submission to traditional publishing with a partial manuscript. So right there, she was doing 2 things that people tell you never to do in publishing. Never try and sell a short story collection because they say they don't sell. And don't go on submission with a partial manuscript. And my agent was like, we're doing both of these things. And so by the time I had published 3 of the stories in literary journals, I had written 6. So we went to market with 6 stories, and every publisher that we submitted to rejected it, did not want it, except for one, West Virginia University Press. So university press, independent press, small press, all of those things, which continued this sort of, this never happened sort of thing. This was an unusual kind of process. They saw a vision for it and they published it. And so when it went on to win the awards that it did, it was unique in that it was a short story collection. They tend not to win the big prizes. It was from a university press. They tend not to win those prizes. I was a debut author, you know, in fiction. And, you know, so all of that was unusual. And all because my agent first had the vision for the idea of this collection. She and I disagree about who came up with the title. I think it was her. She thinks it was me. Somebody came up with the title, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies. But the stories themselves came about because it was rooted in nostalgia for me. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, in the South. I left for college and never moved back, never lived in the South again until now that I'm in Florida again. But the women of my childhood came with me, women inside the church, women outside of the church. And as I was sharing with Bishop Brown earlier today, my mother and my grandmother sent me to church. So they were not church ladies. And so that sort of dichotomy of women in the church and out of the church, and then I'm a girl growing up trying to figure out, well, where am I going to be? Who am I going to become? I experienced the church as a child as a place of a lot of rules that were confusing, especially around human nature and development and sex. So it was like, don't do this, don't do that. But I was like, but that's the fun stuff, right? You know, or don't wear this, don't wear that. There was a lot of dogma. That was my experience of church growing up. And so I spent a lot of time watching the women around me, trying to figure out who I could be and who I would become. And, you know, I went on to marry. I married a man. I married before I had children. I did all of the things right that we were taught in church. And I found myself at, 29, 30 years old, the mother of a young child. And I was so miserable. And it was like, I wasn't able to make sense of my life and vis-a-vis the things I had been taught. So when I started writing, it was as an outlet for the dissatisfaction that I felt in my own life. And I tapped into those women that I remembered, their voices, how they dressed, what we ate, how we celebrated. and my fascination with them and what I imagine to be their secret lives. You know, did they like sex? You know, you're not supposed to have sex if you're not married. Well, what do they do with those feelings? Do they masturbate? Do they, you know, all of those things that I was curious about growing up, those questions and those women stayed with me. And so when I started writing fiction, because I was too scared to write nonfiction, to write about my true feelings, it was those women that came back to me and I was imagining their lives.
Incredible. Just like brilliant. A writer right out the gate. And look what happens, because it was meant to be.
Thank
Before
you.
I keep going, I see Bishop-elect Somerville. Welcome. Thank you, Ebenezer Church Phoenix. And congratulations on your elevation coming up soon, Bishop-elect Elliott. Pastor Anthony Sullivan is here, Chicago. Reverend DJ is here, Nashville, Tennessee. And so I want to say that this is your opening statement is very, very powerful. I'm going to bring Bishop Flunder in. Before I do that, I'm going to make this statement that I believe you made somewhere along probably a previous interview or something. And you say, like my predecessors, I want to show us grappling, resisting, and hopefully healing, to show our full humanity in a country that was not designed with our freedom in mind, and in which those freedoms are still threatened daily.
Yes.
That statement alone is so very powerful, Deesha, because you are unraveling something that needs to happen in this country. And I'm going to pivot to Bishop Flunder, and then I'm going to let you talk back to her.
Okay.
I remember very, very well growing up. I am a Trinitarian Pentecostal by birth. my theology is tilted a bit over the years, but the presence, the joy, the familiarity, the sound is still very, very much a part of my heart and my own personal worship. That really is a part of who I am. And I will say that what I can remember so much about those times are the different types of women that we had in the church, and there were types. There's no question of it. You know, the singer types that were sort of like jazz and blues singers with gospel music lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
There were the ones that were the secretaries and such to the leaders that had a bit of schooling,
Mm-hmm.
and they could write letters. And there were the ones who were over the youth department, the young people. Lots of fundraising. A lot of women that were involved and engaged in raising money for the church. And I used to talk about my grandmother, Bishop Vanessa, because she kept it in handkerchiefs in locations on her clothes. This is for the women's department. This is for the children. This is for the Sunshine Band. And it was all pinned. If you ever stole a purse and thought you were getting money, you were not, because that's not where she carried it. She carried it in all these various and sundry places. I lift that up because they did have a common denominator that I hear you touching on in your book. They were made to understand that if they were to have power, it had to be power behind the throne in many ways. There were some of them that squeezed out to have some power, but it was more often the power over women than power over men. The ones that did have power had to appear as though they didn't, which was a very interesting dynamic also for us coming along in the church. If you can stay in your place, as folks used to say, you can do just about anything, but you have to know how to stay in your place. That's what happened to Fanny down there in Atlanta. You know, when you have to know how your male counterpart can have a girlfriend, but you can't have a boyfriend. You know, it's that kind of reality that we began to think that it was holy unto the Lord to keep ourselves, because as my grandmother and my aunts and the old church ladies used to say, because men are sensitive. And there was so much in that line. They hold the reins to your success and failure. And you got to learn how to work it. You got to know, like the song said, when to hold them, know when to fold them, You got to surely know when to walk away and know when to run. And so I'm excited that you have written this book, and it's going to move to a different kind of presentation as it gets it inculcated into what we are going to see in television and on television and such. Very important for now, because women leaders are popping up everywhere, over countries, over institutions, mayors of cities. There's a connection between this time that you're doing this writing and women to come out of the closets. It's not a revival of masculinity in femininity, because I don't have any negative things to say about that. But there are women who identify strongly and embrace their femininity, who also need to come out of closets and do what needs to be done in this time. So powerful, timely, yes and amen. And I'm looking forward to this conversation and looking forward to the movie and looking forward to just kicking posteriors and taking names. All right. God bless.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bishop Flunder. Deesha, you say some other things. I want to get right into it. You talk about the fact that this is about rules and they're breaking, how it's affecting people, how it's affecting different identities in this book. I think Bishop touched a little bit on that, but you say something. You talk about there are 3 different versions of ourselves. Tell us about those 3 different versions of ourselves.
Right. And, and with the rules, it's a different set of rules depending on if who you are. And Bishop Flunder alluded to that,
Exactly.
the double standards. Even as children, we could see the double standards in terms of what was expected of us, of girls, versus what was expected of boys. Or we saw it happening in church leadership, who was able to do certain things, publicly and, without critique. But there are, there are the selves that we show the world. And then there's the selves that we show each other as Black women. And then there's the selves that we keep, the part that we keep for ourselves. Is that what you're alluding to? Is that what you are referring to? Okay. And so for me, with the church lady stories, I wanted to write the stories that these are the things that we only say to each other, or that we whisper, just to ourselves even. There's some characters in the stories that are queer. In the first story, Eula, I don't even know if the characters would refer to themselves as queer, but culturally we would say that they are queer. And I was talking to a friend of mine who, I'm 52, he's probably 55 or so. And he's read my book and he's been very supportive. But he says to me sometimes, I'm old school. All of this queerness, girls weren't queer when we were growing up. And I said, oh, really? How do you know? He's like, well, we didn't see any of that stuff. And I said, but how do you know if you weren't everywhere that we were? And so this idea that we are only who we present to the world has to be challenged, that we are, who we are in private, and difference between being someone in private and secret, something where you have to keep it versus for your protection versus it's just, your private business. And so what he, didn't understand was that girls have always had secret lives. Sometimes we've had to have them for our own safety and protection. And so, it sparked something for him that, gosh, there's this whole experience that women have that, as a man, he's not privy to. And so I wanted to touch on that. And I've had other, male friends read the stories and say, this is the first time I read something where men weren't at the center. And I think we should all read literature where people like us aren't at the center. And I love what he said. He said, men are on the plate, but they're the garnish. They're not the meal. And I think that that's part of, kind of our existence, whether in the church or out of the church, is we should not be marginalized in our own lives. We should be at the center of our own lives. And so when women are at the center of these narratives, what are the stories we tell? What are the things that we talk about? What are the things that we lament? And that's what the stories are.
This is so good. I'm going to give the audience opportunity to ask questions. Remember, you have to write the word question first and then pose your question. And if the question needs to be relative to this conversation. I also want to shout out Bishop-elect Kevin Taylor, who is on with us, Unity Fellowship Church of Newark. I want to shout out Aliana Stilfane, Brad Bradshaw, Sir Isaac Nelson, people who have just joined the conversation. I see the numbers are moving. I would love for you all to share and let other folks know. Crystal Smith Lewis is here. Annie Holmes has joined us tonight. What an incredible conversation already. Uh, Deesha, you tell us these women are storytellers. Um, they speak about and they speak against injustice, but you said, and need the veil of a tale to find their voice. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, so you have done your research. I'm like, I said that? Did I? I don't remember saying that.
I
like,
do my best.
Good. I like that. I like that. I think stories are powerful. I mean, we have a room full of pastors you all are natural storytellers. The Bible is full of stories, and so the person controlling the narrative. There's so much power in who controls the narrative and whose perspective we get. And so something powerful happens, when women are telling their own stories as opposed to someone else telling their version of what they imagine our lives to be like. And so, I think about a story in my collection that's called Peach Cobbler, for example. And the first line of that story is, my mother made a peach cobbler so good it made God himself cheat on his wife. And that line came to me first. I did not know what this story was going to be, but the entire story is in that line. So I have a young girl. I knew when I wrote the line that the peach cobbler was a symbol, but the mother really does make the peach cobbler, and it just gave me kind of a blueprint for this little girl's story. So when the story opens, she's like 5 or 6 years old, and by the end, she's a teenager. And so we're seeing her mother having this sexual relationship with the church's pastor over the course of a decade. Her mother, of course, would have told the story differently, through a different lens. The pastor would have had, his own lens on it. And I want to amplify that story because it's the one story of all the ones in the collection. When I sent them out to, get them published before the book came out, nobody wanted Peach Cobbler. It was the most rejected story. And yet, most of the time when people tell me they have a favorite story in the collection, it's Peach Cobbler. And
they're saying it right now. My favorite story, what she wrote.
And so when I was getting the rejections from editors from literary journals saying they didn't want Peach Cobbler, they would say, either no mother would act that way towards her child, exposing her to this affair, or, being, kind of callous, the way her mother was not very, very affectionate. They would say, well, why does the mother act this way? You need to, tell the mother's story. And I refused to do it. I just wouldn't. It's like, fine, don't publish it. I'm not gonna, I work with editors and I take revision, but I knew that wasn't right because that's not the story I wanted to tell. I wanted to tell this girl's story. And as a child, she would not understand why her mother was that way, because as children, our parents are mysteries to us for the most part. We don't know why they do the things they do. Maybe as adults we find out, but the way we experience them as children, it can be confounding. And so it wouldn't be true to the story for me for the girl to then be like, why are you this way? Or, somehow bringing that into the narrative. I truly wanted to tell the story through her eyes, including her frustrations, including the note she ends on, which was, I don't have anywhere to go. The indiscretions of these adults in her life put her in a bind. For those who haven't read the story, here's a little spoiler alert. the girl becomes a teenager and she's voluntold. Have you ever been voluntold to do something?
All the time.
To go to the pastor's house and tutor his son with his wife there, the pastor who's having an affair with her mother, and the horrible position that puts her in. And so all of the dynamics of what that told her about womanhood, what that taught her about sex, what that meant for her own agency, all of that comes through in the first person narrative of this girl's story over the course of a decade of her life. I have had people tell me that story resonated with them, not because their mothers had affairs with the pastors, but because of the sense of having to keep adult secrets, for example, having to do that, or having getting the double standards at church, where you see your church leaders doing one thing, but you're being held to a different standard, and that sort of thing. So when you write a story that's very true and very specific to a person with all of those details, it would seem that it would limit it to that person. But one of the things we know about stories is that if they're told well, people have access points into those stories. And so I'm always shocked when people tell me that about Peach Cobbler, that it's the story that they love the most, that it resonated the most with them. And that's the power of these narratives.
Thank you. Bishop Flunder?
I was thinking while you were talking, all sorts of things, as you can imagine, went through my mind. But I was thinking about the whole idiom, the whole concept and idea of stay in your place.
Yes.
And stay in your place. I can remember where there was a certain logic among women about stay in your place, Bishop Vanessa. They said, stay in your place. If you had 3 or 4 children and little ones, still there and coming, that you had to be available to breastfeed. If you had a family that needed to be fed, somebody in the morning early had to start pulling things together and, snapping beans and washing rice and going down and getting a container of milk and all of the things that were necessary. The idea was that these things could not operate a home, just like in some ways they could not operate a house a church, without women doing these things that women do. And then the guys were responsible then to go out there and make some money and bring the money back. Then they're supposed to do the heavy lifting when they get back to the house. If it's a trunk, got to be pulled up the stairs or something like that. That's their job. Fix the car and, make the toilet flush when it won't flush. It was like, these are your responsibilities under the law, in many ways, of God. This is what a woman does. This is what a man does. And both in your book and in the questioning that you had and the questioning that many of the women characters have is what happens when all of those dynamics are gone. Essentially, there's some bottles in the refrigerator and you can feed them when I can't feed them. If you understand what I'm saying, this is the truth. Both of us need to work to pay for the expenses that it takes to run a house now. Circumstances have changed dramatically. Same thing, though, with religion and faith. The roles of women, the ordinations of women, the accountability that women have. Same thing in the workplace. Women are not just somebody's secretary. No offense to somebody who is a secretary. God bless you, because I understand what it is to need them. But I am saying that because circumstances have shifted, but oftentimes in and around religion and faith, we are still stuck with a paradigm that does not still exist. It's a farce. We dress up and we come to church with the farce. We're in and around religion with the farce. But the truth is, the world doesn't operate in the same way, which has to be a real conundrum for the necessity to keep women oppressed It has to be a huge conundrum for women to find their place, but also for men to figure out that you can cook. I mean, and you can clean, and maybe you can outcook me. So cook. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic. Anyway, I want to throw it in because I think your characters are speaking to the narrowness, and that narrowness is something that we have to decide to break open. So there you have it. That's fine.
You want to respond back, Deesha?
Yes, I was just thinking when you were saying about, roles being, these rigid roles and things changing, even, in past era, the roles, we what is it? Major in the minors, focusing on the wrong things, holding on to, certain things, and the things that we're holding on to are not in the pursuit of justice. They're in the pursuit of preserving the status quo. There's a story in the collection called Jael, and it was inspired by the story of Jael from the Bible. And I was imagining, what if somebody gave a child that name? Like, who would, name their child, name a child after that character from the Bible? And, what if she was a 14-year-old Black girl, and who might she be, and who's raising her? And in the story, her great grandmother happens to find her journal, and she's reading it. And that's the story from the grandmother's perspective and how she's reacting. And then we see the journal from, we see what Jael is writing in the journal. So two things the grandmother is finding out. She's finding out that Jael has a crush on the pastor's wife. And she's very, it's kind of explicit about her attraction to the pastor's wife. But also Jael is writing about the neighborhood predator and how he's preying on her best friend. And the grandmother is so upset about Jael having, attraction to the pastor's wife. And she writes off the whole thing about the predator. Oh, that's just that fast girl, or as people say, that fast tail girl. So she's focused on, the propriety of everything, that her great granddaughter shouldn't be lusting after the pastor's wife. When nobody's being harmed by that. Whereas this child is being harmed, and the grandmother is focused on the wrong things. And so I think when we're trying to hold on to the nostalgia and not the good kind of how things were or how things used to be, we're not being honest. Right. So that picture of women doing certain things and men doing certain things in the household, for example, because it would have been financial suicide for most women to leave, until like until 1980, women couldn't even have credit in their own names. And so there was a lot of things that women did, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. And so we're not telling the complete story when we kind of wax nostalgic about that. And I think that's part of our biggest problem right now, is that we're not being honest with ourselves about the past that we sort of long for.
That's so good. Bishop Sonia says, I can so identify with Peach Cobbler because my best church friend became pregnant by the bishop of our church at 16. Just so happens the bishop was her great uncle. I would hear the adult women gossip about it, but they never spoke up or out about it. And no one dared to advocate or protect my friend. Stranger than that, nobody left the church. Nobody left the church. You both bring me, including Bishop Flunder, to my next question. You had something about in Dear Sister. The church scene is about keeping up appearances, right? Grandma sits in the same pew on the same side every Sunday. It's her place. Renee keeps turning around looking for Stet, her estranged father, right? Mama tells the sisters he doesn't deserve us again and again. Tell me what this story is about. I don't want to assume.
Sure. You can. It's the most autobiographical story in the collection. I have 4 half sisters. 3 of us were not close growing up, but we were around each other a bit. one of my sisters and I, our mothers made sure we were raised as sisters together. We were at each other's houses and so forth. And what we had in common was our father, who was not present, who was not, a involved father. So he died in 2005. And one of our relatives said, y'all got that fifth sister, she should know that he died. And we were like, we don't know her. She never wanted anything to do with this side of the family. Understandably, we're not gonna do anything. And so this was an elder who was like, y'all need to contact her. That's your sister. She has a right to know. So we actually were able to get her information. And then we got excited, the four of us, and we called her on speakerphone, like out of the blue. And it was like, well, he's dead, but we're here and, we want to get to know you. And that's not a good thing to do to someone. It was just too much. And understandably, she was like, nah, I'm good. So over the years since then, we've all gotten to know each other. And in 2019 was the first time we all were together for the first time. But it always sat with me that I wish that we could have done that over differently, better. It should have been a letter. And so that's how I got the idea for the story, Dear Sister. It's a story where the one sister, the others have said, you write the letter. We'll tell you what to say, but you write what we tell you to say. And so she's writing the letter. And sometimes she says what she wants to say and not necessarily what the other sisters are telling her to say. And it's a letter she's writing to the fifth sister. And it's how they've all had different experiences of this one man who is their father. And they've all kind of coped with him in different ways. There's one sister who didn't have anything to do with him. And then there's the other sister, Renee, who, she's like, honor thy father and mother. He's our father. And so no matter what he does, she desperately wanted his love and his attention. And so she was very devoted to him. And then there's another sister who, is, very angry with him, and she expresses that. And so we see the way that they interact with each other in the wake of his death, and also the way they interact with their grandmother, who from the outset has been dreaming about fish. And my folks of a certain age in the chat understands what it means when folks start dreaming about fish, right? Somebody's pregnant and grandma wants to know who's pregnant. And then there's the funeral for him. And in the end, they basically just make an invitation to her to get to know them.
This is so good. I've told y'all the book was good. And I'm telling y'all that y'all going to want to purchase this book. And Pastor Sue has already put down inside the chat and all of the links in where you could purchase the book specifically from, right? And you can also try to win this book. Now, Deesha has agreed to give away a book, but someone from the gate already said that they were going to purchase another book to give away. So if there are other people that want to purchase another book to give away so that we can have it during our time of book giveaway, we want you to do that, right? And the hashtag tonight, as always, is Beyond the Gatekeepers for the free book giveaway. So we're giving away 2 books. One is courtesy of Deesha. The other is courtesy of Colette Walker. If there are more people, you will let me know as we go on. We've got a lot of questions in queue already. And so I guess I'm going to start. I have more questions for you. I want to talk about Eula. I want to talk about sisterhood. Bishop Flynn, I want to talk about Eula, because Eula is exploring lust,
yes,
forbidden love, and identity.
Yes.
And I want us to talk about Eula tonight. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So Eula was actually the first story that I wrote. Even though I didn't know it was going to be part of this collection, it was the first that I wrote, and the first that I had published. And so I wanted it to be first in the collection for the, sentimental reasons, but also because I feel like with Eula, it's all the things that you just mentioned, Bishop Brown, as well as I think Eula has the most Bible in it. Of it. And I just feel like it's the story that sets you up for the other stories. It touches on all of the things that are going to be in the 8 stories that follow. It's also the most lustful, most explicit story. And I feel like that way nobody's blindsided. Like, it's immediately, what you're getting when you read Eula. And so the short version of what Eula is about 2 women who are now 40 years old. They have been best friends since high school. And for the last decade, they have met at a hotel outside of the city to ring in New Year's Eve together. And they have a sexual relationship. But the other 364 days of the year, they're waiting for one of them is waiting for her husband, and the other is pining away for her friend. And it doesn't hold back. And I've had so many people tell me, and I don't know why people do this. I do not condone this. They buy the book, having read it, send it to like their churchiest aunt, the churchiest person they know, with no warning, no explanation.
Oh, yes.
And then the person, unsuspecting, reads Eula.
Yes.
And then they get a call or a text. What is this? What have you sent me? But they keep reading. And that's the part that's really exciting to me, is that they keep reading after that.
Yeah. Because Eula and Caroletta are something.
Yes. So Caroletta is the friend who, she's really in love with Eula. And Eula is like, this is just the thing we do until the man God is sending me is coming. And so Eula is very legalistic, in the sense that she thinks, okay, if we pray before we do this and pray after we do this, God forgives, and then we're good until next. It's the mental gymnastics that I think sometimes people play when you're dealing with a lot of legalism and a lot of dogma. It makes you forget the spirit. What is it? The spirit of y'all, the bishops, the spirit of the law. What? You know what I'm trying to say.
We know what you're trying to say. Yes. The letter of the Lord.
The letter versus the spirit. There we go. And so, the things that people tell themselves to, that they feel they have to tell themselves to justify something as human as loving someone else, as desiring someone else, as having, sexual needs. And so it's their friendship. They're 2 very different women, but they are being, they're trying to follow the rule of no sex before marriage. And they have a moment of conversation where Caroletta realizes Eula thinks that she's still a virgin. So this whole question of what is virginity, because she thinks that what they've done together doesn't count. So I am curious of, I find all of that very interesting. And I hope that when people read the stories, they ask themselves those questions like, what is virginity? Why do we, and just I want to raise more questions than I answer. I don't want to tell people how to think or feel. I want them to explore why they think and believe certain things.
This is so good, because obviously Eula is influenced by purity culture. You can already tell. Bishop Flunder, I'm gonna let you jump right in. I know with feet first. Go ahead.
Lord have mercy.
Yes.
Oh, the closets are full, aren't they?
They are, honey. So many
the closets are open.
Yes.
and some of it has last year's clothes, but some of it's got some brand new stuff.
Brand new, honey. Closet Converses end up in there.
And I think that it's just more titillating for it to be in a closeted situation for so many people. And what is so amazing is the way we do spiritualize how we embrace these realities. That some things are just not sex. It's not sex. You know what I mean? It's something else. It's whatever makes us feel happy and satisfied with it, but being able to embrace that part of our lives as a part of the gifts that God has given us. There's as versus something that is low down and nasty, and and all the stuff that the folks and the saints could really use that word. That's nasty. Something all happened to your face,
Yeah,
and
voice get all deep and
it
everything.
dropped down in your chest.
Little gruffy.
But Sonia Williams said that the churchiest aunt hates that she was once Eula.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's why she don't want to talk about it.
You tell saying it's nasty, but
Nasty.
one of the ways I got the idea is like I remember, certain. I was telling Bishop Brown, I went to a lot of different denomination churches.
Right.
And it was, you can't be alone. You're not supposed to date. You're supposed to court, and you should be chaperoned. And so basically, women shouldn't be alone with a man so that you're not tempted. And I'm like, so then you spend all your time with women, and they don't think women might have sex with women.
It's nasty.
Right.
or find themselves.
Or right. And then the idea that masturbation is also nasty.
Nasty,
So
there's so much nasty happening, and then a whole bunch of people acting like it's not, which is the definition of the Eulalites. I gave them a name.
Wait a minute, Eulalites.
Involved viciousness, that kind of.
There's so much denial, that denial of self, denial of truth, denial of pleasure. Yes.
It makes a god out of an idol out of it, but a frightening idol. At the same time, with fire and brimstone, who would have thought that we could not, as people who love God and who are loved by God, find a way to love ourselves enough to know when, like the song said, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. If you really love yourself, you know what's junk and you know what is appropriate for you. It is amazing. And I have to say, I'm so glad you took the courage to speak into this. I hope that women and men will buy this book.
Thank you.
And that it will be a liberating force.
Right.
It will be as liberating as glass baby bottles. It'll be just that liberating. Yes.
And, what I hope people take away from the book and also from this conversation is it was never my intention to condemn, even though Eula and Caroletta, for example, are very different women. I hope that I've succeeded in writing Eula with a lot of love and sensitivity. I'm not mocking her and her
you're not,
or anything
I
like
perceive it that way.
I can just see how she's not acting in her own best interest. She's trapped. She's not free because she's doing all of these mental gymnastics, and because she's believed the lie that the feelings that she has, the needs she has, that they're nasty or they're not natural. And so I told I was interviewed once about this, and I said I didn't want to replace the church's dogma with dogma of my own. That's not my intention. So I hope that people see the possibilities in these stories and see that even with the women characters that I don't share their experiences or their beliefs, I tried to write them lovingly.
Just one more comment of Vanessa, and one great conundrum for those of us who are involved, particularly Christians, but I think that in faith-based organizations all over the world, is that we do not give the folks that are the martyrs and the folks that crowned our religion, the crowned person in our religion, the crown essence in our religion is Jesus. In Christianity, I mean specifically, is Jesus. But Jesus is not allowed intimacy.
Correct.
And so you have a bunch of people that are trying to tell you what Jesus wants, but the people took that, and that's not just Jesus, which is one of the great flaws of religion as it relates to intimacy. We took it, which suggests that in some ways there's something low down about it. It's just low down, and if you don't get it right, you low down. Or you got to sneak. But the sin of it is to vilify it even in the life of the prophets or the seers or the servants or the messiahs that are part of our faith, we took it from them too, which I think is also tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're left out here, many of these young girls and young women and women who are listening, who serve and support women, we're left with so little to really use as a suggestion, a way, a principle that can help people not have closets and self-hatred and self-loathing. So
Mm-hmm.
please keep writing. Write the next book.
I'm working on it. The title of the novel is The True Confessions of First Lady Freeman.
That's what I'm talking
My
about.
God, today.
And maybe somewhere along the line, we'll give Mary
Magdalene, yes.
somebody will give her something, if you understand what I mean, and won't think that they're going to be struck by a lightning bolt.
Exactly.
Let me quit.
Yep. Listen, Deesha, we have a few questions from our audience, and also online. So let me try my best because we're almost at time.
Okay.
So I don't know if I understand it correctly, but on IG, Nappy Nobility asks, in what ways are churches responsible for fostering liberating creative pursuits like fiction writing?
Oh my gosh, for me to ask, I don't know. I think that's a good one for y'all. I don't know.
Well, I think the church is responsible to help us use all of our gifts. And all of our gifts are not necessarily being a bishop, a pastor, apostle. There's so many gifts that we've been given. And I think I said something on last week and on Tuesday when I was teaching. In the 11th century, there was something about being jack of all trades, master of none. Everybody in the 11th century were jack of all trades up until the 11th century, until the powers that be said, we don't want it that way. We don't want Deesha to know about science, and we don't want her to know about literature. We don't want her to know about theology. No, she can't know everything. She needs to know something specific. And so she's just going to know this one thing. But I think it's okay to be a jack of all trades and master them all and be able to do all of these things. So writing is a gift. Creative writing is a gift. And I think that is to be given to the people. Fictional writing is a gift to people that will receive it. And so I think that everybody, if that is the gift that a person has and they are in the church, then most certainly that gift should be given, and received, and people should take that gift in so that we can understand that it's not just one thing, but it is several things. Some people are gifted at money and finances. Other people are gifted at singing and acting. There are just certain things we exalt above others, and I don't think that we should do that. I think that they should all be on the same playing field, and whatever gift it is that you have, you could be able to do here really well, and you could be able to do sew clothes and do art. Perfect those gifts.
That's right.
Hone your crafts, not just one craft. Hone them all.
That's
right. Reminded me of something. So when I was first starting to write, like early 2000s, first trying my hand at fiction, I believe that as a Christian, as I was at that time, all my stories had to end with everybody getting saved and going to church. And that was that very limited thinking of this is the story that I could tell, and that's what it meant to be a Christian. And a couple of things have freed me up of thinking like that. One was during that time I used to listen to a lot of contemporary Christian music, which is not gospel music. And I read something somewhere was like, doesn't Jesus deserve better than this? Like that. And so it's like, why just, something doesn't have to be so on the nose, or just because it's very, Christian-y, but what if it's also mediocre? Can't we aim for excellence in storytelling, meaning there's a broader story that we can tell. Everybody doesn't have to end up saved. And one of the greatest gifts I received when I was writing this book, I have a friend, Pastor Leanne Younger in Pittsburgh, and she said, when your book comes out, can you create something to go along with it so that pastors can teach this book?
Good.
And I don't know if she knows what that did for me at that moment, because I had people like, oh my God, people in the church are going to hate this book. And here she is as a clergy woman saying, no, we want to use these stories to teach. And so I created a what do you call it? A guide, a book club guide. But then I created a second one specifically for church folks. It had all the same stuff as the other guide, minus like the bad bitch playlist. I didn't think about that in there. And then, but it's got all the recipes and it's got all the discussion questions. But then I added another set of of questions, right? So this is off the top of my head because I don't remember. But if you were a member of Eula's church and you found out about her relationship with Caroletta, what would you do? Or the girl Giles, if you knew that there was, are you the kind of person that she could come to and confide in around what she's experiencing? And so that meant so much to me that I didn't have to see myself as separate from the church, and that somehow my book was in opposition or something like that.
You're parabolic. You read parables, but so is about 2/3 of the Bible.
Absolutely.
It's parables. We learn lessons from. There was a man walking down the road.
Yes.
We don't know. We know that's not literal. Sometimes we'll preach it, like it's literal. But the truth of the matter is, it is a parable. There's a story in it. What you have is you've created some beautiful parabolic literature. To show us a way without making these two women be known and abused.
Yes.
They are a kind, which is what parables are supposed to do. And that's the way Holy Writ is written. Holy Writ, did you get that? It's all right.
Listen, we have 7 books that are being given away tonight. Come on, y'all. 7. Crystal Smith Lewis says she's going to purchase a book to donate for giveaway. She says she loves her Jacksonville girl.
That is my friend from high school, y'all.
Come on, y'all. Represent. Reverend Tanya D. Jackson says, all right, I'm so entertained by the conversation that I'm willing to give 4 books because I want others to experience the joy I feel right now.
Thank you. And I'll sign all of these too.
Awesome. This is rich. All right, let me try to get at least one more question and maybe 2. Let's see. All right. So the title, what is the true definition of church ladies? Does this title have anything to do with status within the church? I think we kind of probably filtered through a little bit of it.
It's broad. It's not because when I think about church ladies, I think about my mother and my grandmother. And as I was telling Bishop Brown earlier, both my mother and my grandmother were single mothers who did not feel welcome at church, but they sent me. And I am not a current churchgoer, but all of those years, decades of Sunday school and sermons are still in me. I can't stop writing about it. And so I think it's a bigger umbrella than we like to acknowledge sometimes. And so I'm thinking of anyone who is, I say, a church lady or church lady adjacent. Because if you got a church lady in your life, it influences your life.
Absolutely. Someone ask, which sister were you?
I saw that question from the story, Dear Sister. There's some of me in all of the sisters. And even though I have the 4 sisters, I was not seeking to write, oh, this is my sister Tracy and this is my sister Tiffany. I didn't want to do that to them because I can tell my story and our stories overlap, but I try and respect the privacy of the people in my life, even though I may be inspired by them or we do have that overlap. So there's no one sister that's me. There's one, Kima, who she's sort of, apart from it all, she left town. That's me. She lives in Philadelphia. I was living in Pittsburgh. There's one sister who's really, really angry at their father. That's me. There's one sister who's just wild. that was me at a time. And then there's that sister who wanted to give the father those socks for Father's Day, and he didn't stick around to get them. That was also me. So parts of them are me.
I think that this may also speak to the question about how and when did you find yourself? Because obviously you are kind of intertwined and enmeshed in the full story of this book, and that's a really broad question as well.
I mean, I feel like I still am. I think we all have various chapters. So I'm in a new chapter. I'm in an empty nester chapter. My daughters are 20 and 25, almost 21 and 26. And so I have the freedom to travel. And I say, I don't want to take care of anything. I don't even have plants that I take care of. I don't take care of anybody but myself right now. So that's a new chapter. That's new for me. I've been divorced, and that ushers in a new chapter. When my mother and my grandmother and my father all died in 2005, the person I became after that, is very different than the person I was before all of those losses. So I am still becoming.
Last question, I'm going to ask it if I can, and then I'm going to allow you and Bishop Flunder to give final statements. The form of how to make love to a physicist.
Yes.
I think it's a delightful question. Answer, call back in second person.
Mm-hmm.
How do you hope the readers might try to understand the base world with the spiritual one?
So that story, I hope that they can understand that it's an ongoing process of learning. I think sometimes certainty gets in the way of our flourishing. And so I actually had a crush on a physicist. That's what inspired this story, is a Black physicist who I met. And I wanted to write the scene where the character, the woman, is asking this man that she's getting to know, who is a physicist, and she's trying to reconcile herself being a church-going lady with, him. Like, she's like, he must be an atheist. How does he, how does he reconcile these things? And so when she starts talking to him, and before I wrote it, I talked to the actual physicist, and I was going to ask him, like, how did he arrive at these things and whatever. And he schooled me and said, I'm not an atheist. He's like, Einstein wasn't even an atheist. And that line was too good not to put in the book. And so that informed the conversation. And so he talked about how his scientific understanding and that knowledge could coexist in terms of what he believed spiritually, and where he parted ways with the church, even though he was raised Catholic. So even in the process of writing that story, that taught me something, because I was doing what I hate, which is the binaries. Oh, if you're a scientist, then surely you don't believe in anything religious. And so that taught me to be open and not so certain about what I think I know about people.
I love that.
Yeah.
Bishop Flunder, go ahead.
I think of it this way, because that's a wonderful metamorphosis for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is a wonderful metamorphosis possibility for a lot of the people who are listening to us. You can die before you die if you don't choose to live.
Mm-hmm.
And you can live and truly live such that life does not owe you anything. If you can open your eyes and open your heart and know what to keep and what to throw away. And I would encourage everyone, when you're reading this book, when you find yourself, don't cast her away. Don't destroy her. I think we should focus on trying to live. As long as we breathe, let's live. There's a lot of breathing people who are not living. It's important. This is your last go round, as far as we know. If you do come back, you probably don't know you've been here before. So this is our last go round. Let's take this opportunity to read about liberated women and liberation, and what that really means, and really prepare yourself to live out the last years of your life with the kind of freedom that does not separate you from your understanding of the divine, but celebrates what the divine has made of you. That's a powerful opportunity. It's a bit of a testament. That's what it is. Get the book. Get the book. Tell them how to get the book, Bishop Vanessa.
Listen, you're gonna go and look. It's pinned on the pages that you are watching on. You can see Pastor Sue has posted how you can purchase the book from the bookstores. It should to purchase The Secret Lives of Church Ladies. Go to www.bookshop.org. It's there. Want to make sure that you buy the book. Somebody that wants to contribute to what we're giving away tonight, let us know that. I want to give these two statements, and then I want to let Deesha tell us her last statement. Bishop-elect Elliott says, wow, these bring up so much for me as an individual who sat at the knee of Big Mama, Mother Dear, and Mother. This is akin to some of us who may be male church ladies. I saw that. That's good. And then what Bishop Flunder said, you can die before you die if you choose not to live. That's a Flunderism.
So my closing statement now?
Yes.
So Bishop Flunder introduced herself by saying she's a Trinitarian, and that got me to thinking of, I've been in places where people assume that anyone who's a Christian, it's because they're this blind faith. It's, they're not smart. They're not intelligent people. They're, it's just all, religiosity and anti-intellectual and all of that. And I always resented that because I know it's not true. And I took a workshop, a leadership training with the Incarnation Institute for Sex and Faith that reconciles, because we think of sex and faith as not, we think of them as mutually exclusive. And they talk about the unholy trinity: fear, shame, and guilt. And so that's what I try and tell people. People of faith, Christians, aren't stupid or they're not blindly following. But if you tell somebody these terrible things are going to happen if you don't X, Y, and Z, or if you do X, Y, and Z, if you make people afraid, if you, teach people to be ashamed or feel guilty about things that are natural, that can take root. And it's so hard to unlearn that. And so that is what I hope that my stories can explore, sort of what happens when people challenge the unholy trinity, what happens if they never challenge it and live under the cloak of that, and ultimately what liberation from those things looks like.
Listen, you've heard it right here. Amen. It's right. We want you to go and buy this book. We want you to purchase it. Again, The Secret Life of Church Ladies, www.bookshop.org. But we want you to try to win too. We got 7 books we're giving away tonight. 7 books that we are giving away tonight. Type the hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. Bishop Flunder got her fingers up. Hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers, all one word. Yes, that's right. And Deesha is going to sign the book. Listen, the book is about to become a television show. You want to get the book. You want to be able to say, I read the book. I remember when she was on Beyond the Gatekeepers. You want to be able to say all of that. And, even go back and watch this, send this conversation to someone else so that they can hear it. We always have it up on the Beyond the Gatekeepers page as well as Bishop Flunder's page. So we want to make sure that you are part of this. So go ahead on and put the hashtags in. And what we're going, first of all, we want to say thank you, Deesha.
Thank you. Thank you both. This has been incredible. Thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it so
and thank you to Bishop Flunder as well. We appreciate you very, very much. And we want to go to our 2 advertisements, and then we're going to go to our drawing.
Well, thank you, Deesha. And on behalf of Beyond the Gatekeepers, I want to say again tonight, we are thriving because of your support. If you have not yet given, either by Cash App or to TFAM Annual or to PayPal at www.paypal.me/TFAM Justice. I want to encourage you, don't just receive, but also give. If you want us to continue to grow and expand our audience outside even of the United States, in the places where we really know, in so many places where we really know folks need to hear liberating gospel and have a connection to liberating new thought, connection to liberating ideas and spiritualities and realities. If that is part of your intention, your journey, then share with Gatekeepers so we can continue to grow and expand. Would you do it? Maybe your first time you've actually given. I'm going to encourage you. Put your money where your heart is. God bless you. God bless you. I want to encourage you again. I heard from our staff that we have expanded the early registration, the early bird registration for one more week, because I've heard from several of you that are saying that I need to get my registration in and I need to make that one more week, beloved, at the $200 rate. One more week. After this coming week, registration is going to go up to $300. I want to encourage you to meet us in Las Vegas, Nevada, August 5th through the 9th. Incredible speakers, incredible panels, incredible workshops. We are going to go all the way in terms of having the right kinds of conversations and making the right kinds of preparations to speak into what is coming soon in our nation, in our churches, and in our world. You need to be there. If you are a leader, you need to be there so that you can help the folks that you are called to help for such a time as this. Something inside so strong. Las Vegas, Nevada, at the Palm Resort. God bless you. We're looking for you.
And here is the last announcement. Inspire. So Pastor Sue hosts her own show. It's called Inspire. And this month is a special prize series that is taking place, A Matter of Faith, a special Pride Month series. On last week, she had Reverend Don Abram. He's the founder of Pride in the Pews. You can go back and watch that episode this week. She is having Reverend Marion Edmonds Allen, Executive Director of Parity. The 15th is Reverend Dr. Katrina Roseborough Marsh, Executive Director of the Open and Affirming Coalition of the United Church of Christ. On the 22nd, Crystal D. Cheatham, CEO and founder of Our Bible app. And last but certainly not least, Bishop Yvette A. Flunder, who is the presiding prelate of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, will be her guest. Please join in Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays in June, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Looks forward to seeing you. You can look at her on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and IG. And there's a link tree for you that you can see above. Bless you. All right. We got 7 books to give away. And we want to make sure that we do that. We want to make sure that you have been putting in hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. If you get off the line beforehand, that's okay. We can, as long as we can get in touch with you, that's fine. But we want you to stay on to see if you win. So you are typing hashtag Beyond the Gatekeepers. 7 books to go. And so let's go, Pastor Sue. Our first winner is Bishop Sonia Williams. Congratulations, Bishop Sonia Williams. Yay, yay, yay. Please go to our inbox, give me your address, and we'll make sure you get the book. Congratulations. Our second winner is Minister David Williams. Congratulations. Yay to you. And please do the same. Go to our inbox, put your address. I'm going to make sure you win. Yes. Make sure you get your book. Our third person, come on. Maria Harris. Maria, do us a favor. Go to our inbox on Facebook for Beyond the Gatekeepers and make sure you messenger us your full address. Yay. YouTube winner. That's what it was. Rochelle Dampier. Please, congratulations to you. This is our 4th winner tonight. And we say congratulations again. Make sure that you go to the Beyond the Gatekeepers page on Facebook. Put your name and address in. Shakira Joy Bobbitt, congratulations. This is our 5th winner tonight. Our 5th winner tonight, Shakira. Please make sure that you go to our page, give us your address so that you can make sure you get your book. We have 2 more people to go. Courtney A. Brown. Congratulations, Courtney Brown. This is our 6th winner. Courtney, go to our inbox, put your address in. Yay. One more time. One more time. Dolly Howell Pankey is our 7th winner. Congratulations, Dolly Howell Pankey. Go to our Facebook page, put your name and address in. Let us know you won. We say congratulations to all 7 winners. Yay. That's so wonderful. We're going to make sure that those that volunteered to give away those books, that you're going to get the address, and Deesha will make sure we send you the one person, and she will sign all of the books. We say congratulations to everyone. We're excited about Beyond the Gatekeepers and what's planned. We got a great show for you on next week. Tune in on next week for Beyond the Gatekeepers, and we say thank you, Deesha, for being with us on tonight. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you to everybody that watched. We're so appreciative that you continue to tune in every week at 8:00 p.m.
Faithful.
Faithful. Yes, ma'am. They are faithful. And thank you to Bishop Flunder. Everyone, have a wonderful evening and God bless you.
Blessings.